Hey girl, hey Jaconda. Thank you for coming. I had to give this another shot because I realized I am making my way through social media and how to conduct myself when I'm on a live. I am being introduced daily to a world where don't see people's faces and I don't hear their voices, where I am whenever I'm before anyone, a lot of people, whether I'm singing or whatever, I see faces and I hear voices. So I understand that social media is still challenging for me. Hey, love. Um, when I started this as Petty Party, I had two co-hosts, the beautiful Adrian Coleman from Red Lentil Healing and Johnny from Tarot's Apprentice. And then I began to have guests on so I could have an actual conversation. Hey, Lisa, I could have an actual conversation with, even though it was electronic, I could see their faces, see their expressions. We could have a conversation, etc. So this is different for me because I don't have those components. And sometimes reading the uh, comments can kind of distract me or take me off point. But the last live I did, I wanted to discuss transphobia, homophobia, racism, all the isms, all the phobias that seem to come from such anger and divisiveness and hatred, uh, frustration and anger, how all of these phobias and isms have seemingly pulled so many into a dark place. And in discussing uh, the transphobic remarks made by a snarky Josh Hawley, listening to Macy Gray's opinions on trans men and trans women, well, particularly trans women, and then all several other videos that covered this topic. I began to ask myself if we had become so comfortable in the latter that we had forgotten what it feels like to love or to be loved, or that we've just sort of forgotten how to do that, or maybe we didn't know how to do it pre-COVID, because to me, COVID placed us all in a position where we had to separate ourselves from our families, sometimes family members right in the same house, so it was only you with you, and the spirit within you without you. It was just you with you, and that was difficult. That was damn hard for millions of people. That was damn hard because when you are accustomed to doing something, getting up and getting busy every day, getting up, getting showered, going out to work or not, but getting up and doing something every day, you weren't all you had to, if you were going out, you had to wear a mask, you had to wear gloves. We were all afraid of each other so that we had to social distance. And I think some people who had to spend that kind of intense time alone, or that kind of intense, during that intense time with your family members that you would often only see in passing. I think there were millions of people who simply hated themselves, didn't like themselves. And I think that is what leads to this hatred we have of anyone or anything that isn't marching to the same drum, that actually dares to think outside the box or share views and opinions and experiences that aren't considered, quote, normal, end quote, whatever that is. Normal is what is normal for us individually, but you know what I mean. So in Josh Hawley's debate in the Senate with Dr. Bridges, professor of law, I think the term that they were using somewhere within that hearing was birthing persons. And so Holly was asking, when you speak about this is of course after Roe v. Wade had been overturned. You when you, he made his question was, when you're talking about, I guess, procreating and having babies, you're speaking about women, right? So she went on to explain to him that there were birthing persons or other trans men could have babies. No, that pretty much to say that no, this isn't just about biological females. And since the conversations have really begun to happen between transgender women and men and cis hetero men and women. I mean, there are some wonderful conversations going on around the internet. They can sometimes get awfully heated and awfully ugly. However, many actually achieve growth. Many actually achieve understanding. Many actually can get to a point where they can agree to disagree. So when Dr. Bridges, Professor Bridges, I should say, was explaining this to him, and she made the comment that his comments were transphobic, because I think he was being willfully ignorant. He knew exactly what she was talking about, was that you are actually ignoring the fact that there are trans men who have who give birth to babies. We had Marsha Blackburn in the Senate when Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was being confirmed, asked her to define, or so, I think she wanted her to define what a woman was or a woman is. Well, now with the discussions regarding trans women and trans men, we are looking at, we're having to expand our minds, because we understand that our biology is male and female. Our genders, how we show up, how we identify, that's, for me, it's spiritual. So the spirit that someone shows up in is their gender. It says in one description of gender is that it's the characteristics of men, women, girls, and boys that are socially constructed. So it's a social construct. And that includes the norms, behaviors, and roles associated with being a man, a woman, a boy, or a girl, as well as our relationships to each other. So as young girls, we were taught that once you became of age, you would become a woman. Young boys were, after they had their rites of passage, whatever, were being taught how to be men, being taught how to be tough, how to never show any tears or any emotions, because that would denote that you were a weak man, instead of encouraging our little boys and little men and comforting them and letting them know that it is all right for you to express your pain. We are now having to think differently. We're going to have to understand that gender, or let's say female, woman, male, and man, are not the same. They are not synonymous. we just must expand our minds, children. We're Because the day you stop learning is the day I think you die. Macy Gray says she expressed her opinion on Piers Morgan, saying that she didn't think that just because a trans woman no longer has a penis, that does not make her a woman. And that really caused a firestorm. There were people who were very, very unhappy with Macy and probably still are. The rest of her statement was, "But I will respect you, or I will call you uh, what you identify as." And I'm paraphrasing. What she was saying is that if you present yourself or the spirit of the woman. I guess I'm hoping she was speaking of spirit. She might not have been. She was speaking about visuals. However you see yourself is what I'm going to call you, and I respect you as that. And unfortunately, there are going to always be men, cis hetero male and females that will never accept that a transgender woman is a woman or a trans man a man, and they will do so based on their biology, based on their genitalia. There are men and women that cannot wrap their heads around that. It is too fucking foreign. They are, I think, intimidated by it. I think they are, they're frightened of it. We have back to Josh Hawley, a man for entertainment purposes only. I will add that this is a man that, to me, is so concerned about his manhood that when I see him and I see that he is hiding. To me, he's hiding. To me, he's hiding some of his very real thoughts. To him, he's wanting to forget that maybe he felt that way about a fellow classmate or another man, or maybe experimented while they were at these wild ass college parties or whatever. I see him and I see that he is a man of secrets, and that in that he is a fearful man. He's even written a book about it. I don't know the title of it. I guess it might be Man. I don't know. But he's written a book on how to be a man. Every day, if you are a Black person in America, every day, and goes for boys, girls, men, women, both, uh, any gender, I would think. I'm just going to say all genders: male, female, man, woman, all children. I can only speak from a Black perspective. I can empathize with with brown people and our Native brothers and sisters. I can sympathize and empathize, because the real deal is that we aren't treated well at all in this country in many ways, and have not been treated well. That's just the reality. So every child, you get up in the morning, you say your prayers, you meditate. That's what I do. You get up, you get showers, you get ready to tackle your day. And all day, there will be there will be events that remind you that you are Black, and that you have to constantly keep your head on a swivel. With men, we have seen that a traffic stop can be their last day on the earth. So we have to be constantly aware of our surroundings and how we conduct ourselves, etc., etc. Can you imagine if you are a transgender woman who has of color, a transgender woman of color, or trans man of color? Can you imagine having to deal with that, and then times 10, because someone could out you, someone could viciously decide to tell you the truth, uh, someone could say something that could put your very life in danger. That to me is just so cruel and so fucked up. I honestly grieve when I think about the division, that not only were we divided within our families, we have become divided among people we've called friends. We have there has been this big chasm both within families and within this society, where there's this big fucking chasm of division, and and in that division there is just finger pointing. There's the blame game. uh, there are just reasons for that people can find: skin color, hair, nappy hair versus straight hair, uh, big booties versus not having none. I mean, just all kinds of reasons for people to fuss, to fight, to want to kill. And it all goes back to how they have to be feeling about themselves. Why would a man who met a beautiful woman and they dated, they were good together, the company was good, the conversation was good, the vibe was good, um, you look forward to seeing each other, you look forward to exploring your relationship more, and then if at the point where you trust each other, your mate tells you that she's a trans woman, so that all of your joy leaves, all of it. You don't give a shit about the good times. You don't give a shit about how comfortable you were with her. You don't give a shit about how she made you smile. You don't give a shit about how excited you were to meet her, and you don't give a shit that you were growing closer to her. You were just delighted to have met this spirit you recognized and were attracted to, so that when you find she's a trans woman, all of that goes out the window, and she becomes vile. She becomes a creature. She becomes a thing. She becomes disposable. So that in order for you to attempt to erase what you were genuinely feeling for this woman, so that you can not have to question yourself about being attracted to a trans woman, so that you would not look like some kind of uh, gay or punk to your friends, so that no one could ever come to you and accuse you of being gay. I mean, in order for you to do all you to erase that beautiful experience that you had, that you have to beat somebody down or kill her. It's really ridiculous, because when you take it to that level, that's news. It's written about in the papers. So whether you are lie whether you are in or out of prison, that is going to be you're going to be big news. There's going to be a story, so people will know your business anyway. It's really tough to stand in your truth in this world. It is really tough to be open, to be vulnerable, to be confident, to know who you are. And it takes courage to do that. Courage. And why would anyone who hasn't had a conversation with a trans woman or a gay man or a lesbian or bisexual woman or man, or why would you want to throw so much? Why would anyone choose to be in a community which I don't like to use the word marginalized, but which is vilified, hated, marginalized, and not just just because they exist and just because they stand? Why would you think anyone would choose that? This is in the last live. I also read about all the tribes in Africa who look at trans women and men as, they look at their spirits. They're not looking at their gender. They're looking at them, and they're looking at their spirits, and they honor the spirit that we see. I know that you have met people that you know that you know that you know are gay or bi. Well, maybe not bi, because people don't usually talk about that unless you have a close friend. I don't think. I mean, my friends know, or the people that I want to know. Let me say that. But how can you hate something that you've never ever had any kind of courage to get to know, to speak to someone? It's, because it's going to take patience all the way around. The trans community is going to have to be patient with the uh, hardcore cis hetero men and women. I learned the difference between an ally and an advocate by listening to a show that Conscious did. And an ally is someone who actually, in truth, stands with and defends their trans brothers and sisters. And in fact, anyone who is an underdog, that anyone that is who has a heart, who has experienced judgment or being exiled or being gossiped about. I mean, you tend to understand and empathize and those people, with people that you feel have had the same kind of experiences as you do, and you know how you felt when it happened to you. So you don't ever want to see any other human being have to go through that kind of treatment. As Maya Angelou says, that people will can forget what you said, but they'll always remember how they made you feel. An advocate is someone who has boots on the ground, who's going in the halls of Congress to get laws changed so that the trans men and women can, first of all, be treated as humans, as real, live, breathing, productive, loving, smart, articulate human beings, and then to get laws in place so they can live peaceful lives. Who doesn't want to live a peaceful life? Who doesn't want to live a life where they feel fulfilled? Who doesn't want to live a life where you find that you're in more of a joyful space than a space of fear, and always having to have your guard up and being afraid to trust because you don't know if it will be ill placed. Who doesn't want to have a, a peaceful, joyful life? I don't know anyone who prays to have a life filled with chaos. I don't. And I had to wrap it all the way around to, again, we were all isolated. We had to sit with ourselves. We couldn't hug anybody. Uh, we were all isolated and separated. And have we forgotten how to love? Have we forgotten what it is to be loved? I wonder if prior to COVID, that what was sort of exacerbated during COVID was always there. Perhaps some of the people that we've seen lose their ever loving minds were living in homes where shit was fucked up anyway. So when we were all locked in, this just made us feel more fucked up about the people that we surrounded us, about the people in our homes, about what we witnessed in our homes. Have we forgot? Because the real deal is that we are all here. We are all here. And the beauty of this life is that none of us are alike. We are as individual as our fingerprints. And it would really be great if we could all express ourselves in our individuality, if we could all stand in our individuality in confidence and in truth without having to worry about your life being taken. We're going to have to begin to renew our minds. We're going to have to begin to explore and want to know more about that which we know nothing of. We've only, right now, you can go on a Google search and find any opinion, anything to justify the way your hatred. We all know that. But just imagine that on top of just going out to go to the supermarket, that your life can be taken just because you are a trans woman or trans man living in your truth. I can't imagine. It's tough to love, it seems. We made it very difficult to love. There's so, and I know there's a spiritual uh calling. I know that because there's so many people who are searching for themselves and for that the beauty of God that abides with the beauty of the spirit that we breathe in. I say you can call, I don't get involved in semantics. There is a power, there's a creator, there is wisdom, there is a beauty, there's a love that none of us can even explain and can't even begin to touch. Oh, but we yearn for it. We do our best. I hope in our loving relationships you do your best. Oh, but that unconditional love, that love that is redeeming, that love that is hopeful, that love that is joyous, that love that is inspiring, that love that is encouraging, that love is just love without conditions. We experience that every day, and I just feel that people are searching for it because we all long for it. Some people travel long distances to sit with gurus to help them find that within themselves. Some of us are aware that it exists within us, so we do our best to live in it. It doesn't mean that we're perfect. I'm by no means perfect, but I do know how to love unconditionally. I do know how to just love, and I do know how to walk in it because it is so good. It's good for me. It's good for me. My ability, because of the way I've lived and the way I've traveled, I've met so many wonderful people. And when I lived in Hawaii, my best friends, or some of them, were my trans girlfriends because they cared about me, they loved me, they dressed me, they protected me. We had lunches and dinners and laughs, and we cried together. I mean, we were they are family. And it really grieves me to think I was concerned also, because I did worry sometimes, because one was very young and she was a working girl, and I really hope that Christy got her dream to transition. I really hope that she was able to do that in her life. However, I prayed for her because I didn't want her to have that kind of experience where we would have to read about her or rush to the hospital to see about her because she might come upon some maniac or just someone, again, that man that liked what he saw, liked what he saw, was attracted to it, that spirit. Lisa, we all have room for improvement. We all do. We have a lot of work to do. We have lot of work to do, but we have to be willing to do it. Conversations are great, and one day I'll be able to get some friends on a panel with me so that we can have the conversations, so that you can ask questions. And my prayer is that when we come together, that we do so with love, that we do so honestly wanting to grow and to learn and to heal and to improve ourselves. That's what I like for my community, for the ones of you to come on. That's what I'd like for this little circle of 5 or 6 or 7 to be a space, a safe space where we can have these kinds of conversations. The only way, Lisa, any of us can be educated on anything is if we want to be educated. If you really, there's so much that I mean, there's some great videos. You can go over to, I love Davion over at Conscious TV because he has these kinds of conversations. And sometimes they go on for 5 or 6 hours, but I can stay there because I always walk away with new understanding or something to think about, maybe. Perhaps somebody says something that I never thought about, that I actually have indulged in unknowingly. Perhaps that is what we must do. I know it's what we have to do. We are here. We are all here. All of us. Transgender, male, female, lesbian, bisexual, homosexual, same gender loving. We are all, I mean, just like we are all here. And I do not think it's any of my business who you love or who you go to bed with. It's none of my business. And I think I'm appalled sometimes when folks seem to focus on that more than they do on the human being, on the person. Oh, you just came out of your parents? How did it go, Raslin? I hope that they are understanding and supportive. I hope they are. I remember when I owned up to my stuff with my parents, my father was in shock. I think he was in shock. He had a difficult time with it. My mother said to me that I was the one that was having a difficult time with it because I was not just relaxing and being who I am, like shit. She didn't care. It might not have been what she wanted. I'm sure she wanted a grandchild and a son-in-law. However, she was supportive, and for that, I appreciate that. So, Raslin, I hope that that was your same experience, and that if it is not, that perhaps that there you can have some conversations, some real ones, not hurtful ones. Uh, that after I guess the dust settles, that you can speak with your parents. I pray that it was good for you. I really do. You can't be you got to be courageous, baby, when you decide to say fuck it, I'm going to be who I am, like it. I mean, you can dig it or not. That takes courage. I'm going to think for myself. I'm going to explore for myself because I'm curious and I want to know. I want to understand. That's good. That's good. Well, that's good. That's good. I'm happy. I'm glad to know that. That makes me smile. I don't know if I was hiding. I just wasn't talking about it because to me it was my business. My tea came out on vacation when I went to visit, and my mother noticed that every time my lover called, I just got real happy. I was delighted to hear from her, and so that's how my parents found out. At that point, it was something we could talk about that they should know. Better that it came from me than from someone else. And because I've met so many gay children and trans children, I met a couple. First of all, I think it takes a lot of courage to come out because you don't know how the people around you are going to accept it. And it's always, more often than not, you fall into being judged and ostracized and vilified and teased. And in some cases, young people are kicked out of their homes to live in the streets. So to me, to add coming out as trans has to be that much more difficult. because parents, I would imagine, want to cling to what they know of you, so that if I would think if you are transitioning from you know, doing what is it, male to female, or man to woman. I don't want to get the terms confused. I would imagine that would feel like an amputation to a parent, that they would, rather than gaining a daughter, that they would be losing their son. That's difficult for them. And that's why I was so impressed when T.S. Madison had um, her television show on the T.S. Madison Experience, I think it was on TLC, because her mother was absolutely, Miss Mary is just a queen. And she came to real, you know, she didn't want to lose her child. That was it. That was it. She did not want to lose her baby, her child. So she's happy to have a daughter, and she's proud of her daughter, as she should be. Because I remember when I first started watching the Queen Supreme Court, and Maddie would talk about manifesting her television show. She has that now. She spoke about it, and it has materialized for her. And that show is what every parent should watch who is having a difficult time with their child, or accepting that their child is not hetero. Because ultimately, it has to be about love. Your child is your child, no matter, and they still need your love. They still need to feel the comfort of that. They still, you know, your child wants the rest and the safety of love from the parents. I read a poem from Emmett Fox, and the last line read, "If we could only love enough, we'd be the happiest and the most powerful people in the world, because ultimately it love is the only thing that is going to overcome all of this galvanized hate." You know, we're hearing it in the pulpits. We're hearing it in all of these so-called Christian nationalist movements. They've galvanized hate, that if you don't look like me or think like me, you're not one of us, and you don't deserve to be here. Isn't that such a fear-based, narrow? Isn't that fear-based, narrow-minded thinking? That is such fear-based, narrow-minded. Y'all's asses are boring. Okay, no one wants to be like you. No one. To me, you did all you are is just miserable, miserable, boring people. You're still hiding. And if you can't accept and love yourself, then we can't expect you to love anyone else. Because I think all of this hatred towards trans women and men, and between black and white and brown and white and Asian and white and black and brown, all of these divisions, all of these things have to do with us and our hurt and our need, our need to be healed. We must, our desire to be healed. And the only thing that is going to do that is to return to center, and that is return to love. Sometimes I think maybe we're asking people who don't know how to love. We're asking them, why why aren't you loving? Why aren't you, what is wrong with you, There's some people that have never experienced it, so they don't know shit about it. And it takes a lot of patience to gain their trust and to get them to the point where they will even accept being loved. The people running around in this country now wanting to kill everybody that, again, doesn't look like them, think like them, speak like them, dress like them, are the minority. There are prayer warriors and light workers and intercessors. There are people all over the world who are collectively sending up their light and their love and their healing every day to the planet, not just for themselves, but for the planet, for the inhabitants, for the people that live here. I wonder sometimes if that is the main lesson that we are to get on this planet Earth. That we have to go through all this bullshit to finally have that light bulb moment and say, yes, this is what we should have been doing. I want us to let anyone who comes to these lives, to this platform, want them to know that you are safe here and that we're only going to show you love here. That does not mean that we are going to always agree, but I do want you to know that this is truly a love zone, because to tell you the truth, I am exhausted with the negativity that comes over the airwaves, that that's some people get up and they put it on like a coat, their hatred of themselves, and therefore they have to go out and take it out on everybody else in the world. I am proud, and I hope that I have demonstrated I am an ally of the trans community, especially the Black trans community, because they really get a hard time. They really get a hard time. And all of the reasons that people use to give them a hard time, to me, are just excuses and are invalid. Because if you call yourself a Christian, then you know that your primary assignment is to love ye one another as I have loved you. You must love the way you say Jesus, Yeshua, Yahshua HaMashiach, excuse me. You must, if you're truly walking in that love, then you have to know that it's not contentious, that it is long suffering, that it is forgiving. You have to know it. So that's what I am doing. I'm surrounded with love. The people working with me, the men working with me on my CD, surrounding me in love. and I'm much, much mellower because I can work, I can go there and find my peaceful space. I want you all, if you have an opportunity, to go on some of these other platforms, get out and listen to trans women and men tell their stories, their struggles, those that are just transitioning and those that have been involved with it for years. Just go listen and ask earnest questions, not to be disrespectful or be assholes, but because you truly want to know. You truly want to understand. So that's about it. I hope I did better tonight than I did the other night. Oh my God. I will delete a live if I am dissatisfied, honey. I delete that girl when I sound like I have gone off the rails because all my thoughts are colliding. Electra, the music is going fine. I am understanding the process of it. We are still actually just working on the first song. Um, so we have begun to actually lay down tracks, and each song has different steps that we go through in order to get it to the point where we feel that it is sweet, and then we move on to the next one. So yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready, and I'm looking to 2023 with something really just delightful. I'm having so much fun with it. And again, it just puts me in a space where I'm just so much more mellow. So, if when you all think of me or hear a good tune, think of me and send up a high thought. Send me some love and some light on it, because it's going well. It really is. It's going well. Again, and I'm preparing to move so that I can be in a permanent residence. I can finally leave the extended stay. It's been brown. However, I need more room. Gotta have more room. And I really want to get that storage bill off my back. Get my stuff into a place. Thank you, Lisa. I'm glad that you joined us. Yeah, I'm gonna get better at it. And I really do plan to upgrade. I thought I was gonna be able to upgrade StreamYard before now, but to upgrade so that I can just drop the link within the chat. And if you want to come up and talk with me, you can. You can still use your avatar. You don't have to show your face unless you want to, but at least I'll be able to hear a voice and get some kind of real time conversation going, because that's how it flows for me. That's how I like it. I like it. So as I close out tonight, y'all, Tony from Shining Hawk Healing always says, "Walk in beauty," and I would add, not only should we do we walk in beauty, but we walk in love, because the way is paved in love. Don't ever forget that. And in our desire to know what's going to happen down the road, don't get tripped up by a pebble that was right in front of your ass. Stay in the now. Stay grateful and thankful that we have a whole nother day, August 1st, a whole nother day. So for all of you, I want you to have sweet slumber tonight. And thank you so much for coming on and listening to me. Thank you so much. I'm going to actually rename the whole thing. I think I'm going to call it the Venus Revolution Love Zone. Yes, so good night to all of you. Thank you once again. And I'll get back to you soon. I'm organizing my life, child. Organizing my shit. So I promise I won't take so long to come up and talk with you all. Take care. Mwah.